on Development, or IGAD. Right there behind me, our very own Trevor Umbija is live at the Pride Inn in County 001 with a whole panel of experts and an audience as well. Trevor, what you got?
Thanks, Jeff. I know you wish you were here in County 001 in Mombasa, but we're live at the Pride Inn Paradise Hotel here to speak about strengthening disaster risk management through anticipatory action. Sounds too complicated, but I will not get into it. There are experts here who will explain this. Let me start by introducing my guest from immediate left, Dr. David Nanyende, Technical Officer, National Disaster Operations Center, Kenya. Thank you very much for making time. Ms. Ezra Osman, Project Officer, Resurgence Daraja East Africa Program. Thank you very much for making time. Dr. George Otieno, Thematic Lead Anticipatory Action at IGAD. Thank you very much for making time. And Dr. Nicholas Shearer, Lead Policy and Advocacy Anticipation Hub. Thank you very much for making time. So Dr. Nanyande, I'll start with you. When we speak about risk management through anticipatory action, what are we talking about?
We are talking about implementing predefined interventions when you are faced with a disaster risk. In Kenyan setup, the most common disaster risks we face are droughts, floods, epidemics, landslides, and many more. So what happens here is that we implement, when the forecast is issued by the Kenya Meteorological Department, then we are able to implement certain interventions prior to the occurrence of that of a disaster risk. Then we are able to save lives, you are able to save livelihoods, and even save on economic losses that you would have incurred in the face of a disaster. Okay,
well explained. Osman, what does that mean at the community level? Especially when you now start talking about drought and flood. What does that mean? Do you have enough information on time?
Yes, taking action at the community level means enabling them to take precautionary measures to protect themselves against any disaster that may lead to losing. And being safe, when a disaster happens, it's just a domestic need that everybody needs. So everybody, when a disaster happens or anything happens, want himself, his family, his beloved ones to be safe and to be able to live life normally. So this is what we tell the communities when we work with them is like, this is a basic need that they need to have. So telling them the information about an anticipated disaster or a hazard empowers them to be able to protect themselves, to move to a safer places, to take measures in order to be able to continue life normally.
Okay. Dr. Otieno, you are holding the first ever Eastern African Dialogue platform, which kicked off yesterday. Why is that important, and what came out from that conversation that started yesterday?
So thank you, Trevor, for hosting this discussion. Maybe before I respond to that, let me just also give a small contribution to what Dr. has said. If you just look at the DRM cycle, the way risk management, the traditional way of managing risk, looking from the four phases of the risk management, from mitigation to preparedness, to response, and to recovery. The anticipatory action bit now comes in between the preparedness and response. So the reason why we talk about being a linkage between response and preparedness, because we are trying to stop or to minimize the impacts of disasters which can be predicted in advance because of the improvement of science over time. So the Eastern Africa Dialogue platform, and you can see we're calling it the first ever in the region, simply because we've never had such an event in the region where member states, partners from all over comes together to discuss about region-specific issues. There has been similar events outside the region, in Africa, and the other parts of the continent. But in this region, why this is very important is because we've been facing climate extremes, and the region has been flipping from one extreme to another. Mm-hmm. And if you just, I know your understanding, there are documented losses that as a result of this continued extreme. People have lost their lives, people are losing their property because of these recurring multi-season events. Yeah. So why we come here is to first to understand our regional challenges in terms of anticipatory action. What are people doing in their different contexts in the region? How can we move forward? How can we develop a unified regional approach towards addressing the extremes through anticipatory action? Mm-hmm. The documented evidence from different researchers gives that there is no better way to respond to risks than anticipatory action. That if you invest $1, for example, if you invest $1 on anticipatory action, the gain or the value in that is around $7. What that means is you will get value addition on the impacts. Lives that should have been lost, if you quantify that, the benefit is $7. Mm-hmm. And so this event is timely, that as a region we cannot continue to let it be business as usual. Mm-hmm. We have to do something. Okay. And the people gathering here yesterday, today, and tomorrow is going to come up with a regional direction on how do we move forward in terms of addressing the risks.
Yeah, Dr. Nicholas, anticipatory action efforts are largely donor-funded. What needs to be done to increase the implementation or the financing at a scale-up level that everybody feels the impact? Because Dr. is saying if you invest $1 in anticipatory action, it's equivalent to $7. That's something that is quite profound. But what needs to be done to scale that up?
Yeah, absolutely. It's true. Anticipatory action basically originated in the humanitarian sector and is up to date funded by a few international donors. But it's simply not enough. To really reach scale, we need to invest much more into anticipatory action. And one way to do so is, of course, that governments also start budgeting for anticipatory action, that is, make it really part of their own disaster risk management policy. This also secures then sustainability and enables then to take action basically across a country. So that is key. And this, of course, in turn, requires also to create this cultural shift within governments to move from a reactive approach, which is the dominant approach up to date, really across the globe, to a proactive approach. So, we do have the capacities, we have the knowledge, we have the forecast to take action ahead of a disaster. Why not acting before it fully unfolds?
Interesting conversation. And I'll have Dr. Ahmed Abdihun, Program Manager, Disaster Risk Management, eager to also talk to us about the early warning systems in just a bit. But Jeff, this is really the conversation we're having here in just a bit. Strengthening disaster risk management through anticipatory action. What needs to be done so that we're proactive enough to mitigate the effects that come with us? But there's several levels to it. There's anticipation, then there's response, and then there's recovery. We are just on the level 1, anticipatory action. What needs to be done to ensure that relating especially to climate-related risks, how do we ensure the impact is minimal in advance? Do we have early warning systems? Are we proactive enough? That's the conversation later on. Jeff?
Absolutely, Trevor. That's really interesting stuff. Thanks so much. We look forward to more of that conversation. Keep it coming. Now,